Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome in to Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here Tuesday, March 25th. Good morning to you all. Good morning, Duval. So, Jacksonville Jaguars, we all know they hold the 5th pick overall in the 2025 NFL draft that is less than a month away. Less than a month, y'all. So it is going to be a lot of draft content and talk on this show and on most NFL shows over the next month, right? We've talked about a lot of different scenarios. We've talked about and done a lot of different mock drafts. I want to talk about a topic at large, like could the Jaguars shock fans with the 5th pick? Because right now, you look around the web and everyone is mocking Mason Graham to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if it's not Mason Graham, it's probably Travis Hunter. We've talked about the scenarios where Travis Hunter could potentially fall to 5. I think it's possible. I don't think I would say it's likely, but it is possible, certainly. I still think Mason Graham is the most likely pick. But I want fans to be prepared for everything. And I think there's a decent chance that the Jaguars do kind of shock the football world, shock the Jaguars fan base and the NFL with their pick at 5 overall. So I want to kind of take a look at maybe some of the options that might be considered shocking that are possible here today. Fired up to get into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I am wearing right now. So, as I mentioned, I still think Mason Graham's the most likely. The Jaguars did not spend in free agency on the defensive front, right? They're already spending big bucks at edge, and they have Trayvon Walker contract coming up, assuming that this new regime values Trayvon Walker the way they should, in my opinion. But yeah, I still think Mason Graham's the most likely because they haven't spent up front in free agency. They have off-ramps with the Devon Hamilton contract, with the Eric Armstead contract following the 2025 season. Mason Smith, as much as I think that he has a bright future, is not a sure thing. And even if he is a sure thing, you need at least 2 guys that are really good on the interior. So I still think Mason Graham's the most likely pick. And all that combined with the fact that he's the 4th best player on my board, I think that the Jaguars are going to value his skill set highly. He's kind of like Braden Fisk plus when you look at the balance he can bring. Like I think he has all the pass rush juice that Braden Fisk has, but he's bigger, stronger, better against the run, right? And then again, followed by Travis Hunter, who cornerback, wide receiver, whatever you want to do, he should still be at the top of the draft. I think you play him at wide receiver because I think he provides you more value catching passes from your quarterback, helping out your quarterback, than he does at corner where teams can try to scheme away from him. Right? That's just kind of how I view it. And then I think there's also some scuttlebutt about offensive line potentially, like Will Campbell, Armand Membu. If those guys are there, would the Jaguars consider just trying to beef up that OL and help out Trevor Lawrence even more? But they did spend considerably at interior offensive line. Like their 3 starters have been signed in the last 13 months. 14 months on the interior of the offensive line. Ezra Cleveland before last year, and then you look at the 2 signings this year, Patrick McCary, Robert Hainsey. You look at tackle, Walker Little. He's under contract through the 2027 season. Jaguars don't have a team out till after 2026. Anton Harrison going into the 3rd year of his career. So you could see the arguments against offensive line being the pick, right? But I'm never going to be mad if the Jaguars go address offensive line as long as it's a good football player, right? So those are the ones that I don't think would really surprise anyone. But there are picks that I think could happen and would make sense that will potentially shock some fans. And I think at 5, Will Johnson would be pretty shocking for fans at this point. And I mocked him to the Jaguars yesterday in a trade down scenario because I don't know if the NFL is doing it as much, but a lot of people that are very connected with teams around the NFL, draft analysts that are connected with teams around the NFL and kind of have their ears in a lot of the right places, they're a little bit lower on Will Johnson right now. And you can understand why with the season he had with the foot injury, not being able to have like the pre-draft lead up you would typically want. You could see why he kind of has a little bit of prospect fatigue and falling down the board. But when you just turn on the tape when he's healthy, there's no reason he shouldn't be a top 5 pick. And the Jaguars did go pay Jordan Lewis. We really don't know what they think about Jarian Jones. We don't. We also don't know how confident they are in Tyson Campbell long term. This is not the regime that signed Tyson Campbell to the deal that he has. So it would not shock me if they say Will Johnson has the size and physicality and profile to be able to play up close, but he is incredibly instinctive and off coverage as well. So that gives us the ability to be a very versatile defense and run a lot of different things. And I think you could say the same thing about Tyson Campbell. If you have Will Johnson and Tyson Campbell out there with Jordan Lewis or Jarian Jones in the slot, that's starting to look like a really good cornerback group. So I could see that for sure. At wide receiver, you've got a lot of options, and the Jaguars, they really didn't spend at receiver. They traded Christian Kirk, and then they signed De'Ami Brown to a 1-year deal. The only guys that are really looking like they're going to be on the roster beyond the 2025 season in the wide receiver room are Brian Thomas Jr. and Parker Washington, right? BTJ going into year 2, so he's got plenty of time. And then Parker Washington is going into his 3rd season, so his 4-year rookie contract will be up following 2026. Who else is going to be under contract beyond 2025? De'Ami Brown, it's a 1-year deal. Gabe Davis, they're probably going to move on from because of the contract situation and his level of play. Who else is there, right? So wide receiver, if it's not in the first round, it's going to be sometime early. There's no question about that in my mind. So would Tet McMillan shock people? I don't know, but you look around the web right now, and Tet McMillan, he's fallen. He is really falling. You've got some folks having him drop into the 20s. I don't see that personally. I've always had him closer to 10 than 5 in my personal rankings. But would he be a great compliment to Brian Thomas Jr.? Hell yes, he would. So would Luther Burden. Yes, absolutely, Luther Burden. Explosive, strong, great hands. I think he has... the question about him is the route running profile. That was the same question folks had about Brian Thomas Jr. last year and a lot of other really good receivers. But Luther Burden has the hand strength, the focus, the ability to track the ball and adjust to the ball in the air down the field, does not drop the football, is good in contested catch situations. He's great with the ball in his hands. I mean, Luther Burden, I think he has all the physical traits. He has a lot of production, but I just think he was in an offense that didn't really utilize him very well, honestly. So, and didn't maximize his potential as a wide receiver. I think he's a guy you move around the formation and you can get the ball to very quickly. You want to talk about Liam Cohen's screen game? Luther Burden? Yeah, I think that would be a match made in heaven. And then Matthew Golden, his speed, his route running proficiency, his ability to track the ball and adjust to the ball down the field, the 4.29 40-yard dash. I don't think he plays necessarily at a 4.29 consistently, but he's a mid 4.3s type of guy on the field. And that's really explosive, and that gives you unbelievable juice at the wide receiver position. So yeah, wide receiver might surprise a lot of people. It would not shock me if they went that direction. But it would be a little surprising to see a team, even though, again, different regime, go wide receiver 2 years in a row in the first round. But they got to go get themselves some wide receivers in this draft. And why not take wide receiver 1? I think that could make sense for them. Could they take a different defensive tackle? Could they go like Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham's teammate? Personally, I don't think he's going to play the same level of snaps as Mason Graham. I don't think he's going to have the same 3-down impact as Mason Graham, but he is a physically dominant athlete at 340 pounds with his size and his movement skills. And going to be a great run defender and somebody who can probably give you a little bit of juice here and there as a pass rusher as well. I just don't know that he's going to play with the same level of consistency as a Mason Graham. Now, we're going to get into the rest of these picks that might shock fans a little bit and shock the NFL world. But first, got to remind you all about Underdog Fantasy. Grab your phone and your dancing shoes. It's time to make entries on March college basketball with Underdog. Just head over to Underdog's simple to use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code Duval Daily, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit to play. Choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, i.e. points, assists, rebounds, and more. Y'all already know. I've told you many times. As long as the Gators are dancing, it's Walter Clayton Jr. to go higher on points for me. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Duval Daily to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus, Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus, Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerns with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783. Or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. So all the players we kind of looked at so far, positional value is there, right? Like, look at corners. Derek Stingley just got $30 million a year. J.C. Horn just got $25 million a year. So that position has really jumped up in positional value when it comes to the monetary side of things. And you look at interior defensive linemen, they get paid a ton. Obviously, receivers get paid a ton. So these next couple positions are going to be a little bit lower on the totem pole when it comes to how much they get paid, but they're guys that could add a lot of value to the Jaguars roster. And they're guys that I think deserve to be top 10 picks. Maybe the Jaguars do too. Tight end Tyler Warren. I mean, this is a guy that you look at what he could do. And then you get two Penn State tight ends in Jacksonville, right? As a balanced tight end, someone who has the potential to be a dominant blocker at the point of attack and in space, but also be a dynamic offensive engine. Like, just thinking about having to be a defensive coordinator, trying to game plan for a team that has Brian Thomas Jr. and Tyler Warren, that's terrifying. And the speed that they already have in the backfield. I know a lot of folks talk about the Jaguars' backfield in a negative light, but if you can get Travis Etienne the ball in space, which I think Liam Cohen will be able to do, that guy's going to have a much bigger year. But Tyler Warren, big physical dude, unbelievably explosive, great hands, great contested catch guy, better route runner than you would expect at, 260-ish pounds. I think that he is going to have an unbelievable NFL career, and you can use him in so many different ways. Again, you can use him as a weapon in the run game, as a blocker, but also he was a quarterback in high school. And so you see him run Wildcat quarterback, and you see him actually throw the ball at quarterback, and you see him lined up at H-back, at inline tight end, in the slot. You can even line him up out wide. Good luck covering him if you're a corner or a linebacker out there. Whether it's man or zone coverage. So I think Tyler Warren would be a really good fit for the Jaguars. I think he would make the team a lot better and more difficult to game plan for offensively. And yeah, that's kind of how I fall on that one. And he's a top 10 prospect for me. Again, positional value monetarily, tight ends don't make a ton, but if you get a tight end on a rookie deal in the first round, yeah, he's going to be paid up pretty high amongst the tight end group in the NFL. But when it comes time to pay him for his second contract, he's not going to cost you nearly as much as a wide receiver or an edge or a defensive tackle or offensive tackle, right? He's going to be a lot cheaper for you over the course of his contract than one of those guys, over the course of his career than one of those guys. And I think that's enticing. And I think that's another reason why positional value does matter. I'm not debating that. I think it absolutely does. All things being equal, if you have players from a position that is a more costly position in the same tier as players at a less valuable position monetarily, yeah, I think you would like to be able to take the guys that are going to be a better value. But overall, if you can get a great football player, you have to go get a great football player. And drafting a tight end, a running back, a safety in round one is going to save you money long term as compared to some of those other guys if they're an impact player the way you expect them to be. And speaking of impact players, I don't know if anybody would have a bigger impact than running back Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. He is my number 2 overall prospect And I think that, born in Jacksonville, Florida. So that's pretty cool. But was in a military family, dominant football player at Boise State ever since he stepped on the field, since he was a true freshman. And he's been ready to enter the NFL ever since then. The great thing about Genty is great runner. Short, 5'10", 215, 220 pounds, muscle hamster type of guy, right? But explosive. He's got great rushing instincts, like the vision, the patience. And then once he has to make somebody miss in space or run through him, he is a bowling ball. He will bounce off so many tackles. It's incredible to watch him run. And I think he could be, Pocket Hercules 2.0. He could be Maurice Jones-Drew 2.0 here in Jacksonville. He's a little bit taller. He's not as squatty as Mojo D, but I think you could get some of those vibes here with Ashton Genty. And he's a great receiver and great pass blocker. Complete back. So that's the type of guy that would revolutionize the Jaguars offense. And that's no slight to Travis Etienne, but Etienne is in the final year of his rookie deal. Do the Jaguars want to pay him? How much will it cost to pay him if he has a big year? Who knows? Tank Bigsby, as much as you love him as well, he has struggled with holding on to the football pretty mightily. So Ashton Genty, yeah, I think that could make sense at 5 overall. And you've got folks mocking him to the Raiders the pick after. Why not the Jaguars? They feel like they have built out their offensive line in a pretty big way, I think. I think they feel ready for the 2025 campaign with that offensive line. Imagine trying to game plan for Brian Thomas Jr. and Ashton Genty. Sounds pretty difficult to me. And then the final one I wanted to look at here is safety, Malachi Starks. And Starks is the type of guy that didn't have the best testing, right? I really don't care. To me, it's kind of like Brian Branch, right? Like, if you've got a great instinctive safety who looks athletic on the football field and makes all the plays you want on the football field, that's all that matters to me, and that's exactly what Malachi Starks is. The moment he stepped on the field at Georgia, he made that defense a lot better. And look, they asked him to do a lot of different things this year at Georgia. He was playing in the slot a lot, which I appreciate the versatility he brings, but you just play him as a true free safety or too high safety, and I think you're going to get the best results from a Malachi Starks, who I know that he didn't test insane, but you watch him play on the field, he looks like he has all the athleticism you could ever ask for at safety. And he has a very low missed tackle percentage. He makes a lot of plays on the football. I would be all over Malachi Starks. I still very firmly have him as a top 10 prospect in this class. So I think you look at these options and they all make sense for the Jaguars. I know that they might not be the sexy pick or the consensus pick, but there's a lot of different directions the Jaguars could go. I don't want the Jaguars fans out there to be so locked in on Mason Graham that if it goes a different direction, that they're absolutely shocked, right? There's a lot of good prospects available. I do think that Mason Graham is among the best, and he has great positional value at interior defensive tackle, and it kind of lines up with where the Jaguars have gone in terms of free agent spending and the contract situations in that room, interior defensive line. But there's a lot of different things the Jaguars can do here at 5. So let me know what y'all want the Jags to do at 5, or potentially trade down. I don't think a trade down would shock anyone either. I think the Jaguars are clearly in position to be able to do that depending on how the board falls. But again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.